The Interior Department wants local government units to implement uniform curfew hours and health protocols. The PNP says its Bawal PDA directive is all about public safety and not about the actual relationships. The Labor Department has issued new ventilation guidelines for workplaces and public transportation. The Agriculture Department is open to proposing a state of emergency over the continued threat of the African swine fever. And in lighter news, U.S. President Joe Biden's German Shepherd Major was sent home to Delaware after being a naughty doggo. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Sean Yao. The Interior Department wants Metro Manila mayors to uniformly implement COVID-19 protocols. To give us the details, DILG spokesperson USEC Jonathan Malaya joins us over the line. Good afternoon, USEC. First off, what measures are we talking about here apart from, uniform curfew hours?
Well, the curfew hours is really the centerpiece of what we're requesting the local government units because we noticed that they have different curfew hours at present. Some of them have adjusted to 10 o'clock, others at 12 o'clock, while some of them have 3 o'clock up to 3 o'clock in the morning and some at 4 o'clock in the morning. So we feel that it would be easier for the public to comply with these regulations if these are uniform across Metro Manila.
USEC, this is not the first time that we want to roll out uniform curfew hours. We've experienced this last year. Have you guys formally reached out to the NCR mayors? And if so, how did they respond to this proposition?
Yes, we have. And we have received very positive news from them. They are already coordinating among themselves for a uniform curfew. You're correct that last year, we already imposed curfew, and it was very beneficial to the public to have one curfew hours among the 17 local government units here in Metro Manila. So we expect that the mayors should make announcements starting tonight or even maybe tomorrow.
All right, so we'll expect some sort of shift and some announcements from some of our mayors in the NCR. Sir, moving on now to another topic, which is kind of harder compared to, implementation and announcing uniform hours. How do we ensure that these protocols will be observed by the public? Is there a plan among all the mayors and LGUs in the NCR?
Well, it's been a year since we've been implementing all of these health protocols, so we already have some best practices that we can utilize. We're deploying additional police officers in crowded places. We're also mobilizing our barangay officials and the barangay disciplina brigades. But at the end of the day, it's really about the cooperation of the public. It's really about individual discipline and individual responsibility because we do not have the manpower to guard or, monitor each and every individual in Metro Manila. So we appeal to the public for your cooperation. We are doing what we can, given our limited resources. But, the success of the implementation of minimum health protocols ultimately rests on the public.
That's right, initiative and discipline. I will not argue with you there. But on the flip side, USEC, what will happen to violators? Will they be meted out with a uniform punishment as well, like jail terms, fines, community service, or something like that?
These things are now at the discretion of the local government unit. We leave it to them because each of these local government units has their own city council, which has the authority to pass ordinances. And the legal basis for the imposition, for example, of the curfew is the ordinance passed by the LGU. So some LGUs are more lenient than others. In terms of first offense, if you are not wearing a face mask or a face shield, they will just warn you. But some immediately impose a fine. So it's incumbent upon the individual to know what those penalties are. However, I just wish to emphasize that we are not doing this to make arrests. No, it is not the policy of government to make arrests because, our detention facilities, for one, are already full. So we don't want to exacerbate the situation. What we would wish to ensure simply is that people comply with minimum health standards. If we can do so by calling their attention or by fining them, then we're fine with that.
All right, nice to know that, sir. Now, the DILG also announced uniform travel protocols. This is, of course, on a more national level. Can you say, USAC, that LGUs have been compliant with these so far?
Majority of the LGUs have been compliant, but there still are some LGUs in the country which are still awaiting a formal memorandum circular from the DILG. They would like to see the implementing rules and regulations of IATF Resolution number 101. And we expect to release that very soon, just to give the LGUs the document that they need, that they said they need, so they can implement all of these new regulations. But let me emphasize that the travel authority, as of now, is no longer required. The health certificate is also not required, but it would be good for the traveler, for the domestic traveler, to first check with the LG of destination if there is a requirement for a RT-PCR test. Because if there's a requirement, then he has to comply. Otherwise, he or she may not be allowed to enter the local government unit.
All right, thank you for those clarifications, your time and insights. DILG spokesperson Jonathan Malaya on the line. And the PNP says its Bawal PDA directive is about compliance with health protocols and not so much about the actual relationships. In an interview with us here on One News, PNP spokesman Ildebrandi Usana said that the directive is a reiteration of a previous rule regarding social distancing. Usana said this also applies to touchy-feely friends. Violators will be cautioned or fined if necessary.
It is because of this closeness between and among people that may create the impression that probably they might be facing a carrier of the virus itself. We have nothing to do about the relationships. We only have something to do with how the compliance with minimum health protocols are being complied with by the people themselves.
And the health department reported over 2,800 new COVID-19 cases today. This brings the total caseload to around 603,000, some 44,400 of which are still considered active. 17 more people died of the virus overnight, pushing the death toll to around 12,500. Total recoveries now stand at more than 546,000, with over 220 new survivors logged in the last 24 hours. We'll have more stories after this short break. Stay with us. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. The Labor Department has issued new safety guidelines in workplaces and public transportation to prevent the further spread of COVID-19. Gerard De La Peña joins us live from Mandaluyong City for the details. Hi, Gerard. Good afternoon. What are these new guidelines?
Sean, the Labor Department has issued a directive that mandates business establishments as well as public transportation to provide adequate ventilation for workers. Well, the DOLE said that shuttle services serve as extension of the workplace and that they should be constantly sanitized to prevent the spread of the virus among workers. As stated in the department order, buses should also have adequate air filtration system. If a mechanical ventilation is not available, vehicles should have open windows to allow air circulation. Transport operators as well as business establishments who fail to comply will face fines ranging from 20,000 to 50,000 pesos. The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board said they have been implementing these strict protocols due to the rising COVID-19 cases over the past few days. All transport marshals manning bus terminals and train stations were ordered to ensure that physical distancing is observed and that passengers are wearing face masks and face shields at all times. Transport operators were reminded to disinfect their vehicles every trip. Members of the Eros Transport Cooperative in Quezon City, for one, said that they spent 5,000 pesos per week to purchase alcohol and cleaning materials to sanitize the vehicles of all 120 members. But this has to be done in order to comply with safety protocols. The LTFRB admits they have a hard time enforcing this due to limited number of personnel to check on motorists. The agency has only apprehended over 500 individuals for violating health protocols over the past 2 months. Sean, despite the challenges, the LTFRB said that they are in coordination with other agencies such as the MMDA and the IAC in implementing these protocols. Sean.
Thank you for that update from Mandaluyong City. That was News 5's Gerard De La Peña. And the Agriculture Department is studying a Senate resolution urging the President to declare a state of national emergency this time around due to the threat of the African swine fever. Shyla Francisco with the details.
The Senate Committee on Agriculture and Food wants the Agriculture Department to ask President Duterte to declare a state of emergency due to the African swine fever. In a resolution it passed yesterday, the panel said the ASF continues to affect production, which in turn hikes pork prices even more. Currently, losses in the sector have amounted to at least 50 billion pesos.
The Department of Agriculture should now recommend the declaration of a state of emergency in Luzon to address the African swine flu so that necessary funding will now be allocated dapang-dapa ang Luzon. So dapat merong talagang ilalabas na funding and support because of the emergency.
Once declared, a state of emergency will merit an indemnification fund for hog raisers affected by the ASF. Hog raisers and farmer groups noted that tariffs from pork imports can be used as funding for the livestock industry under the said state. Senators are also looking to file a bill similar to the Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund.
Kasi ngayon na pupunta sa sa National Treasury, maski saan pwede ilagay. Pero kung ito is specific kung saan idadala, pwede itong may dala dun sa sector.
Agriculture group Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura suggests that funds be used for the establishment of breeder farms and biosecurity measures. Pork Producers Federation of the Philippines, meanwhile, wants the government to allocate 8.5 billion pesos for the indemnification fund once the state of emergency is declared. The groups are now urging the DA to act fast so consumers can see lower prices of pork in as early as 8 months.
Iintayin pa ba niya 1 buwan, 2 buwan? Marami na naman tatamaan ng African swine fever. Kung mabilis ang magiging aksyon at mainggan nyo agad mag-alaga, magdagdag, mag-expand ang ating mga magbababoy sa loob ng 8 buwan, bababa pa sa 330, 360.
The DA meanwhile says it's open to the Senate's call to allocate pork import tariffs to the livestock industry since they need more funds to battle ASF.
Kung ano lang meron kami ngayon, yan ang ginagastos sa QRF at saka sa bahay, nire-reprogram secretary para kasi maraming kailangan logistics niyan biosecurity, PPE, yung rapid test kit, na importante. Magkano ng pondo for years? So, continuing yan eh.
Agriculture Secretary William Dar has instructed the Bureau of Animal Industry and other concerned agencies to study the proposal. Shaila Francisco, VR1 News.
The UN Security Council has failed to agree on a statement that would have condemned the coup in Myanmar. Reuters reports that leaders of China, Russia, India, and Vietnam suggested amendments to a British draft. And these include the removal of the reference to a coup and the threat to consider further action. Diplomats previously said that sanctions on Myanmar are unlikely to be considered to preserve Council unity. According to them, it will probably be opposed by China and Russia, which are among the Council to veto powers. And U.S. President Joe Biden's dog Major has decamped from the White House after causing a minor injury to an unidentified person. White House spokeswoman Jen Psaki said Major was surprised by an unfamiliar person and reacted in a way that resulted in a minor injury to the individual. Psaki did not identify who was bitten but assured that the incident was handled by the White House medical unit with no further treatment needed. Psaki also said that Biden's two dogs are still getting used to the new surroundings and new people. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Sean Yao, and we are One News.